The Medo-Persian Empire rose out of the ashes of the Babylonian Empire in 536 BC, at which time Cyrus offered the Jews their liberty, as told in Ezra 1. This was directly the result of Daniel's prayer for the restoration of Judah when he discovered, in what we call Jeremiah 29, that the captivity was just about complete. Under the leadership of Jeshua and Zerubbabel, a small contingent returned to Jerusalem and rebuilt the bronze altar and the temple foundation. However, this project was not without difficulty. Both opposition from without and apathy within delayed the work and required the stirring ministries of Haggai and Zechariah to spur the Jews on. The Lord's house was finished in 516 BC, 20 years after the return. Between Ezra 6 and 7 is a gap to which belongs the story of Esther. These were momentous years on the world stage. During this period occurred the deaths of Buddha and Confucius, and the battles of Marathon, Thermopylae, and Salamis. The story of Esther takes place in Persia. Not everyone went home to Israel. The king of Persia married a Jewess named Esther, who uncovered a plot against her people, led by Haman, the prime minister. Haman was an Agagite of the royal family of the Amorites, who were spared instead of being slain by Saul when God told him to do so. When Esther and her cousin Mordecai brought the plot to the attention of Ahasuerus, Haman was hanged and replaced by Mordecai. The Jews narrowly escaped slaughter. To commemorate this, the Feast of Purim was established. Some have objected to this book being included in the canon because the name of God isn't mentioned. God is there, however, working behind the scenes. It's been shown that the name of Yahweh occurs 4 times as an acrostic at the crises in the plot. In 2 cases, the name is spelled backwards, in 2, forwards. Ordinary life is not so ordinary. It's filled with eternal significance. Events fit into a normal pattern of cause and effect, but woven throughout are the hidden purposes of God. Human choices are of great importance and have profound consequences, whether for good or bad. The book of Esther says, "Don't be deceived by appearances. More is happening than you think." The second section of Ezra, chapters 7 to 10, covers Ezra's personal journey to Jerusalem with a new wave of refugees. He was appalled to find the people so demoralized. Under his careful Bible teaching, a revival in a measure took place. In some ways, Nehemiah is a parallel account to the one given by Ezra. 12 years after Ezra's return in 458 BC, Nehemiah heard in Babylon that Jerusalem's walls were in ruins. Offered a leave of absence, he returned to the city of his fathers, but found more than broken walls. He found broken lives. Discouragement had set in. God's commands were being transgressed, and moral laxity was common. In spite of critics, unskilled labor, threats of violence, and an enormous task, the approximately 4 miles of wall were repaired in 52 days. What filled Nehemiah's heart with joy was the fact not only that the work was done, but that God was seen to have done it. He writes, "This work was wrought of our God." Thus ends the history of the Old Testament. 400 years will pass in which God is silent until at last he will fully and finally speak by the word. And that's our scripture snapshot of Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther.